morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Braintree District Council Cabinet. My name is Graham Butland, leader of the District Council. This evening we're in our new format around. Is that my phone making a noise?
Yes, Chairman.
So could I just remind everyone, that was deliberately done like that, so I could remind you all to switch your phones to silent mode. In this format, interested if there are any comments about how it would go. No fire, housekeeping, no fire alarm planned for this evening, but in the event of a fire alarm going off, we will exit the building to our right. Okay, we will make a start then with the agenda item 1, apologies for absence. There are no apologies for absence. Everyone that we are expecting to be here is here. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any members who wish to declare the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest, other pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest relating to any item on the agenda, having regard to the Code of Conduct for members? Councillor Cunningham, Tom Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest as a member of Essex County Council who are mentioned in at least one of the reports, I think, and possibly be mentioned when we discuss the performance report as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other declarations? Well, I'm going to take Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint, who I think has the same declaration,
yes, thank you,
Councillor
Chairman.
Peter Schweer, who has the same declaration, and myself, all four of us as members of Essex County Council. And then Councillor Lynn Jeffries.
Yes, I need to declare an interest on the private session item, and I won't be taking part in the meeting.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? No? Right, thank you. That takes us then to item 3, minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on the 25th of November. Sorry, not the 25th, that's tonight. The minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of September. They have been circulated. Are you content that they're a true record?
Agreed.
Okay, I will sign those. Item 4, public question time. There are no members of the public either here or have written in who wish to register any questions. So we will move on now to the main items of the agenda. Agenda item 5, which is the asset management policy and strategy. And Councillor Bowers will introduce this item. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Chairman. As members will be aware, especially as I've been referencing this for some time, the Council has been conducting a review over the past 2 years into how it manages and gains benefit from the considerable portfolio of assets within its ownership and control. Just to be clear, I was raising the need for much better ways of working for probably double that amount of time and long before I took the portfolio. Therefore, I'm very pleased to be presenting this to Cabinet tonight. That said, as I've said on many occasions, you cannot challenge the ways of working of a function if that function hasn't been instructed to work differently, and that is where we were at the start of the review process. With over 500 assets held in the portfolio, the way the Council manages its assets has a range of implications on the way it delivers its services, supports businesses and the community, and contributes to the financial sustainability of the Council. It is something that has a substantial impact across many of the ways of working of the Council, and there are many touch points that asset management has across BDC, and is important therefore for the Council to understand why it holds assets, what those assets do for the Council, our community and businesses, and how the Council makes decisions on whether it keeps or disposes of assets within its ownership and control, as well as making decision on potential acquisitions. Whilst the Council has previously had an asset management strategy in place, the recent review into the management of its assets has determined the Council does not have a current asset management policy, strategy or plan confirming a strategic and systematic approach to property and asset management. Therefore, there was some work to do. To maximise value, whether this is measured in financial terms, i.e. in the case of the investment portfolio, or use in the case of operational leisure and community portfolios, there must be an adopted process to review property and land transactions, including disposals, acquisitions, lettings, to reduce risks and maximise value-adding opportunities. Following the asset management review in 2022, further external expertise was therefore procured in April 2024 through CIPFA, the Chartered Institute of Public Chartered Accountants, who, with the support of the Head of Property and Asset Management and in consultation with myself, Senior Management and Service Leads, has developed the draft asset management policy, strategy and plan. I will leave it there as a way of an introduction, and as the report and documents before members tonight are comprehensive enough, while also providing the Council with the ability to develop the function and our suite of assets to take us to the next level and where we need to be as an authority. The Asset Management Review forms part of the Fit for the Future work stream. The Asset Management Policy, Strategy and Plan will be reviewed each year as part of the business planning process. The policy and strategy will be brought back to Cabinet to review and authorise any changes. The Asset Management Plan will be updated as part of the business planning process, utilising the adopted methods of consultation and performance monitoring, and will not be brought back to Cabinet. Internal stakeholder engagement has included meetings with officers and Cabinet members. The Asset Management Policy Framework was considered by the Corporate Policy Development Committee in October, who made some suggestions to improve communication and to add some details on value. These suggestions have been incorporated into the framework before you tonight. I would just like to put on record my personal thanks to Edwina Crowley, our new Head of Property and Asset Management, for not just all her hard work along with her Property and Asset Management team, though also for the impact that she has had across the organisation to ensure our processes when it comes to property and those touch points I referred to earlier we will be in a much better position than what has come before, and I for one look at the future with much more optimism as to where and how our property and asset management function will be operating as we move forward. I would therefore like to move the recommendation in section 2 on page 5 of tonight's agenda, which asks Cabinet to approve and adopt the Asset Management Policy, Strategy and Plan 2024 to 28 as set out in Appendix A and B. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. I think it's fair to say this is something which, as you said, you have taken a great deal of interest in for quite some time, and it's like a new baby now being born, I think, is probably how you would see it. Are there any comments or questions on this from any colleagues, please? Any? Councillor Cunningham? Tom Cunningham?
Thank you very much. Not a great deal to add, Mr Chairman, but just to endorse the work and thank Councillor Bowers for bringing this forward. I think it's important to note this is a step change in the way that we utilise the district and the residents of the district's assets, because they do belong to residents. No such thing as council property. It belongs to the public. And it's important that we are seen to ensure that assets that do belong to the public work for the public in a number of ways, serving various needs, but also generating useful return to the public, so it can be spent on things that further benefit residents and communities. And whilst we've always had a large portfolio of assets, a wide-ranging portfolio of assets, I think perhaps it's fair to say that whilst there wasn't anything particularly wrong with previous approaches, the previous approaches were a little bit procedural, a little bit managerial, a little bit on the functional, as opposed to taking a strategic approach. And again, there's nothing wrong with that approach. It was a responsible approach. But obviously now's the time, the challenges facing local government, potential changes, it's important that we've had that fresh energy, that fresh impetus in looking to do things different and better. I think if we achieve nothing else through the process, it's been extremely useful in actually illuminating what assets the authority has, and I hope that this process can help inform members, help inform their communities as to the assets, because as often happens, you do get a lot of strange rumour and intrigue and strange misunderstanding around some of these things. I remember just over a year ago, when we were having the difficult decisions and the difficult process of implementing the garden waste service charge, I was told, well, if only if you sold, if Braintree Council flogged its properties in Newcastle and Manchester, you'd be able to pay for the green bins. Well, to my understanding, we've never had properties in Newcastle or Manchester. We've always had a very responsible approach to asset management, and I think that's going to be the key of this strategy, ensuring there is that sound response with a little bit more creativity and ability to be a little bit more agile going forward. So thoroughly support the strategy and look forward to a very successful implementation of the action plan in the months and years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Any other comments at all? Councillor Ritchie?
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, just to echo some of those points that both Councillor Bowers and Councillor Cunningham have made, I think having an adopted asset management plan and an asset management strategy shows real maturity for any type of business, and in fact it shows true leadership as well. And I think it's really key to be able to show that, and by listing out exactly what we do have on our books, and let's make no bones about it, it's 158 million quid's worth of assets. It's only right that we do so. I think what's also key about this asset management policy is that it makes no bones that to keep the value in those assets, you need to spend money in those assets as well, and we will do that as a responsible authority. We will maintain that asset value by investing when we need to, how we need to ensure that the asset stays viable for use, or if it's at the end of its use, we either recycle that asset, reinvest that back into the district. So I know this has taken a while, and I know it's been a real labour of love by the portfolio holder, and I'm really pleased that we've managed to get it to this point this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. And I would agree with members that we've been waiting for some time for a new approach to our assets to come forward. So I think it's going to be a good document, I think, to start to really get to understand a little bit more about. I'd really be interested to know, with our assets at 157 million, is that right for the size of our authority? When we talk about, you know, selling assets off, we have previously over the years actually sold assets off to make improvements into new or other assets. And indeed, we've handed some back to the community as well. So, you know, to say that this is a fresh approach, we've actually done some really good stuff over the years, actually, with our assets. So I'd be keen to know what that figure represents when we look at other local authorities. I'd also be really interested to know, in our frontline role as councillors, how many district councillors out of our number actually have visited all the assets in their ward? Because I know every single asset that the council owns in my ward, and I visit all of them regularly. In fact, I visited one today, and I'll be writing a separate letter to the asset officer about this asset. And it's one of our new assets in the ward that I represent. And quite frankly, it's going to need some serious attention. And that really disappoints me when we sit here this evening, you know, looking at this strategy. And I hope that it is going to deliver all that it says that it does. But I think if it is, if you just take my ward, there is quite a lot of work to be done on public-owned assets. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Bowers, do you want to come back on the comments that have been made?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Beavis. I think it's probably quite easy for me to answer about the visits of every councillor in every ward. I obviously won't know that in regards which councillors are visit what assets we own in their ward. Obviously, all the assets are available on the asset register through our website, so councillors will be aware of what's available, what assets we have in their ward. But I wouldn't know which councillors have visited their assets. In regards to the 158 million that you referred to, that's obviously the book value, not the actual market value of the assets. In regards where that sits us within other authorities, I don't have that information, and I think the wider point, or the most important point of this is as part of this strategy and the policy and the plan, is as we work through our pipeline of assets and we look at the net value, and like I've said before, and Councillor Ritchie referred to earlier about what these assets cost us to run and the upkeep and that kind of thing. And when you look at the book value and the actual the value of the existing asset and how much the depreciation value would be, or how much it would be to bring it up to the certain level it needs to be, there's a lot of money there. So it's looking at that well, lots of money there. So it's looking at that piece about whether that asset is value for money for us as a council, and as Councillor Cunningham referred to, these are the assets of the community of our residents at the end of the day, you know. So it's only right that we are looking at it like that. Yes, the asset management, the property function does bring in a significant amount of income to this authority, which obviously aids us to provide the frontline services and all the services that this council does. And not just frontline services, but the non-discretionary, the discretionary functions we do that are non-statutory. So and it's not just asset management that brings in that money, but it brings in a sizable amount of money to enable us to do what we can do. But I think that is the point of the work we are doing, going back to the pipeline of assets, to look through these and work through these assets and see which ones we do need to keep, which ones we might need to dispose, while taking on board the impact on the MTFS in regards to the money it brings in. But like I've referenced before, and what I was saying just now, just because it brings in a certain amount of value, when you actually look about what that asset is costing, it may not always be worth keeping that asset, and that's what this work will definitely be flagging up, and I look forward to working and updating members as we go through the process. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Any other comments at all? In that case, are you happy to adopt the recommendation in 2.1 of the report and approve and adopt the asset management policy, strategy and plan for 2024 to 2028? Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 6, the cleaning contract. And this is Councillor Bowers again. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Chairman. Braintree District Council undertakes cleaning across its properties using a mix of contractors and staff. 3 of the council's current contracts relate to cleaning. They're nearing their expiry. The council currently has 3 contracts for cleaning council-owned and managed property, and the current contracts include the cleaning, the supplies and some water hygiene maintenance. All are due to come to the end of their contractual term very shortly. As an active member of the Essex Procurement Partnership, the Council has explored the opportunity to use partnerships, economies of scale and procurement expertise to source a new contractor as the current contracts come to an end. The Partnership have explored contracting options and believe that the Council will achieve better value for money and more resilience if there is one contract in place for the Council's cleaning requirements to be undertaken across all its sites rather than the current 3 separate contract arrangements. To further benefit from the maximum purchasing power, Essex Procurement Partnership has recommended that the Council work in partnership with Colchester City Council and Tendring District Council to collectively procure and award a cleaning contract. This is therefore detailed in the report tonight. I will add nothing further than what I've just said, and obviously all the detail is in front of members tonight. What I'd like to do is move the recommendations as set out in section 2 of the report on page 24 of tonight's agenda. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Tom Cunningham.
Thank you very much. Just to say how delighted that this is coming through as part of the role in the Essex Procurement Partnership. Extremely positive news. Yes, this is a relatively operational contract, not without significance, of course, but I would hope that this would be one of several large pieces of procurement that are done through this wider network of the Essex Procurement Partnership, making sure we can take advantage of economies of scales and ensuring better quality of services delivered for better value for money for our residents. So very pleased to see this coming to Cabinet this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Any other comments or questions at all? Do you want to say anything else, Councillor Bowers?
No, thank you, Chairman.
No? So it's been recommended in Para 2.1. There are 2 recommendations there. Are you happy to accept those recommendations? Agreed? Thank you. Takes us then to item 7, the medium-term financial strategy 2025-26 to 28-29. And you may notice a sort of pattern emerging in tonight's meeting. Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Chairman. As described in the agenda, this report is to provide detail of the progress in updating the General Fund financial profile and the medium-term financial strategy, and to set out initial proposals for the 2025-26 budget to be used as the basis for consultation. The report has been written, having only recently received details of the Chancellor of the Exchequer's budget announcement to Parliament on the 30th of October. Therefore, the updated MTFS position does not include the impact of changes announced. The main detail on funding will be included in the Provisional Local Government Finance Settlement for 25-26, after which an updated position will be provided. All current calculations have not considered anything following the budget, as the further detail provided will come via the policy statement, which is expected by the end of this month, though at this stage this has not been received. The initial proposals, as things stand currently, were presented to the Corporate Scrutiny Committee last Wednesday evening, where there was a chance for the committee and all members to ask questions and provide comments to myself, Councillor Tom Cunningham and other Cabinet members. Those questions and comments will be considered, as well as those at tonight's Cabinet meeting, as we move through the 2025-26 budget process, ahead of presenting updated detail at the Corporate Scrutiny Committee in late January, ahead of the Cabinet and full Council, where the final budget will be voted on. As members will see in the MTFS table in the report in paragraph 4.3, there are still so many unknowns awaiting confirmation before we firm up final details following confirmation in the Government's policy statement, as well as the all-important local government finance settlement expected towards the end of December. The current picture is that higher than expected take-up of the garden waste subscription service and additional income from investments has reduced the projected budget shortfall to $731,000 for next year. There are still some significant elements of the budget that need to be clarified before a final position is reached. This includes the funding we will receive from central government next year. The key challenges are that we still face significant budget pressures and challenges ahead. This is the same for councils across the country. We are projecting an almost £9 million budget gap over the next 4 years. This is caused by a high degree of uncertainty from global events and increased levels of demands for services like housing and waste collections. What we will do to tackle this is we are delivering our Fit for the Future transformation programme to help achieve long-term financial sustainability, improved efficiencies, utilising opportunities for additional income and savings, and investing in technology. As part of the initial proposals, recommendations for the 2025-26 budget include additional investment into improving and enhancing the appearance and cleanliness of the district, including A120 bypass cleaning, extra funds for our landscape services and tree management, continue the Council Community Grant Scheme to support local community groups, and continue funding parish councils for its street cleansing partnership and support to partners. All the current details at this stage, as well as further financial detail, is contained in the report, so I will not look to repeat that. The only other thing I would like to refer to tonight is the recommendation referring to the Local Council Tax Support Scheme. As members will be aware, a new banded Local Council Tax Support Scheme for working age claimants was introduced from April 2024 alongside the statutory pension age scheme. The new scheme provides a greater level of support to low-income households, up to 77%, whilst also applying a simplified and user-friendly claim process which is more efficient to administer and supports council tax collection. No changes are being proposed to the scheme for 2025-26. Alongside the new working age local council tax support scheme, transitional protection was put in place to provide support to existing claimants that would have a reduced entitlement that exceeded £5 per week. This protection has provided 449 households with a total of around £70,000 of financial support in the current year. The transitional scheme was to be for 1 year only, and therefore for 2025-26 it is proposed to provide exceptional hardship relief only where requested and assessed on a case-by-case basis. It had previously been agreed to allocate £50,000 from the Cost of Living Fund for exceptional hardship funding related to the change in the Local Council Tax Support Scheme. In conclusion, I refer members to and move the recommendations as set out in section 2 of the report on page 28 of tonight's agenda. I welcome members' comments and happy to assist with any questions, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Comments and questions, colleagues? Are there any? I know you had a Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Chairman. And I would agree with Councillor Bowers on the scrutiny meeting last week. I thought it was really excellent, brilliant presentations, I thought, on the process of the budget, and some really good questions from scrutiny and really scrutinising actually what was in front of us. I thought that was really helpful. And one wasn't able to ask all the questions because it was just such a busy evening. I just wanted to take the Cabinet member back to the new homes bonus, and I think it was at 6.3. I could be wrong as I'm scrolling through my papers. But I think you're still looking to see how you might allocate new homes bonus in the current budget process, which might be different to what we've done over the previous years. And I just wondered whether you had any further comments at this stage on that process. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Bowers?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Beavers. At this stage, I have nothing further to add at the moment. Obviously, what we get, we don't know completely, and that will all be connected to the finance settlement we'll get at the end of December and the associated things that are connected to that, and what we do get from central government. Until we have the final detail on that, then there's no decision that is. I say no decision, that there will be no final decision until council votes on the budget. You know, but in regards to our proposals, there's nothing further to add at this stage. Thank you.
To come back? Yes?
Thank you, Chairman. I just remember there was one other quick question I just wanted clarified. I did ask it at the scrutiny committee as well, and it was around the pride in our place. I think that's it's what it's called. And the reason I say that, Councillor Bowers, is that I'm kind of in touch with a lot of our parish council clerks, and I'm not really aware that anyone's sort of coming to me and saying, oh, of course, we've got this new pride in our place and perhaps we can get some projects delivered through that. And I just wondered how much we've sort of pushed that out to our town and parish councils, and could we do a bit more of it? Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Bowers?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Beavers. I'm not personally aware of how much that has been pushed with the community in regards to parish councils at this stage, but obviously I see it as a positive of what we are proposing to do, and obviously the detail of that will be provided in the coming months as we move forward with that in regards to what that means for the community. I don't know if Councillor Tom Cunningham wants to add a little bit more detail on that he would be aware of. Thank you.
Councillor Tom Cunningham.
Thank you very much. Not a great deal to add. Still working through what that expenditure may look like in terms of practical programmes of work across the whole district, because we're very mindful we've got to make it work through the whole district. But when we have done, when we do, what we will do our usual job of updating through our parish clerk liaison meetings. I don't know if that's the exact title, but basically that's what they are. That I think the corporate director, Sherry Root, tends to lead on, and we'll give them a flavour of what we intend to do and how it may affect their parish in the upcoming financial year. So more to come in the weeks and months ahead as we lead up to the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Councillor Bond. I think this is a really sensible step to this point so far. Obviously, we cannot budget to the nth degree. We can only budget on what we have within our own remit. And I think what this statement does this evening, as it did on the members' evening, is it puts a marker in the ground as to what we are going to deliver as an authority. And it's capturing the key things like the statutory services, is keeping the key things like, as unpalatable it is to some people, keeping the green bin waste at a recognised charge and not having to increase that because of these surpluses that it made last year. Again, just through the good work and the good governance that this team can do, we've been able to safeguard some items within the budget until we get that full settlement through. Once that full settlement is through, then I'm absolutely sure that the Cabinet member will be able to indulge us all and update us further with the additional funds that will release for the benefits of not just our parish councils but also our town councils as well, even to the point whereby we have the granular detail around how we can take pride of place to all of our parishes across the district and towns councils across the district. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. Any other comments or questions at all? Do you wish to come back at all, Councillor Bowers?
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Chairman.
No, in that case, you have, members of the Cabinet, you have before you the recommendations contained in paragraph 2 at the bottom of page 28. There are 3 of them, 1 for Cabinet to agree and 2 to recommendations from Cabinet to full Council. Are you in agreement with those recommendations? Agreed? Thank you very much. Move then on to item 8, the second quarter performance report 2024-25, and this is Councillor Bauer's swan song for the evening.
Thank you, Chairman. The Council has made several achievements in the second quarter. 70 affordable homes were delivered, 46 cases of homelessness were prevented, 126 businesses were offered support, 218 fly tips were cleared, all within 24 hours, 290,000 grant funding was secured from the Football Foundation, and over 100,000 was awarded to community groups to support cost of living initiatives. Overall, the performance in the second quarter is broadly in line with expectations, with the majority of projects now underway and progressing well. 37 projects are on track at the end of the second quarter. One project completed in the second quarter where the Essex Waste Strategy was adopted in September, totalling 2 projects complete this year. 4 projects have an amber status. These are Whittam and Housestead Town Centre improvements, where further approvals were required to complete works on non-Braintree District Council land. The District Jobs Fair, where the target date of October is going to run over, with the event being delivered in the first week of November. The planning permission for Horizon 120 plots 6 through to 8, where the target date of October is likely to be extended due to the additional time taken to prepare the applications for plots 6 to 8 due to disposal options for excess soil. Creating a multimedia and additional meeting space on the plaza, where the original identified space has been repurposed to better meet customer demands, and an extension to timescales is required to review the options available. Further information can be seen within the detail of the respective projects in the full report. 10 performance indicators have met or exceeded target, and 7 have not met target. For the performance indicators that have not met target, 5 have missed target by less than 5%, and 2 have missed target by more than 5%. Performance indicators which have missed target by less than 5% are collections for council tax, where performance last year for the same period was impacted positively by the New Homes and Growth dividend. Percentage of invoices paid on time, which is considered to be due to changes in staffing in areas where there are high payment volumes. Percentage of calls resolved at first point of contact in the customer service centre, whilst continuing to receive large volumes of calls in relation to complex matters. Percentage of stage 1 complaints responded to within timescales, where a cluster of overdue complaints in August resulted in a lower outturn. Business rates collection rate had a minimal reduction against target. It's expected that it will be on target for the end of the year, as minor variation year on year is expected. The following indicators missed target by more than 5%. Number of visitors to our leisure centres have been impacted by the council's leisure provider experiencing system issues. It expected that the level of participation is higher than the reported figure. I'm not sure if Councillor Bowles-Flint may want to add a little bit more detail on that, or what she might be aware of following, obviously, when I wrap up. Time taken to process housing benefit claim changes where changes to the local council tax support scheme has changed the profile of cases, resulting in fewer but more complex cases. Further details of all performance indicator outturn can be found in the performance indicators details section of the report. Moving on to the finance part of the performance report, the review of the financial performance and projection for the year at this second quarter shows an overall positive variance of just over 1.9 million. 2 main areas contribute to this position. Firstly, Treasury management income, which is projected to outperform budget due to a combination of higher than anticipated cash balances and slower than forecast fall in interest rates. Secondly, take-up on the new garden waste subscription service has continued to increase, and the level of income achieved has now met the original target assumed in the MTFS by 25-26. There are risks to this net income forecast as collection route capacity remains under review and preparations are made for the next subscription year. Asset management, environment and sustainable development are projecting an adverse position. Vacant commercial units and letting space within Causeway House contribute to the variance for asset management, along with extra cost of temporary resourcing to support a period of transition for the service. The adverse variance within environment is for 2 reasons. Difficulties in the labour market, while also needing to ensure the council is compliant with new building safety regulations, has required the need for interim staff, and fee earning account income has also fallen. The main reason for the budget variance for sustainable development is a projected underachievement of income from planning applications. Income from this source is volatile and subject to market conditions where the position can change significantly, particularly for major applications. Essential provision has been made for the estimated additional cost of the staff pay. Service budgets will be adjusted for the third quarter to account for the agreed pay award with a budget transfer from overachieved income. Finance is working with services to review the forecast position to identify any ongoing risks and opportunities for budget planning for 2025-26. Capital expenditure to the end of the second quarter was 2.3 million against a profile programme of 8.9 million, with the main areas of spend being on community facilities, climate change projects and grants for residential disability adaptations. There is currently a projected underspend on several projects totalling 415,000, although this position remains subject to formal project closures. That's where I will leave it now, Chairman. Obviously, the report is in front of members tonight with all the detail, and I'm sure myself or the relevant portfolio holders will be able to assist in any questions and comments. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Any comments or questions at all? Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint.
Thank you, Leader. This is the second quarter that I have had to come with these figures on visitor figures being extremely different to the target and the outturn. In fact, now, after 6 months, the difference is 145,810 visits, which is an awful lot of visits. As you can imagine, I haven't taken that very easily, and we are working with Fusion, and all other Fusion clients are experiencing the same problem. However, after 6 months, I think personally the problem should have been resolved by now, but it isn't. But I can ensure everyone that I'm keeping my eye very closely to these figures and await Fusion to come back with the true correct figures of what they're supposed to be. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my committee reviewed the first quarter last week, and one of the items that we discussed is what Councillor Bowers led on this evening, which is bullet point 3.8 tonight. I think it was 3.6 last week. And included in that is the amount of homelessness people that were stopped from being homelessness. And we last week wanted to convey our thanks and appreciation to the team that worked very hard to ensure that this happens. And I would, rather than wait a couple of months, as I've got the opportunity tonight, to do that again, because prevention is so much better than cure. And there is such a lot of hard work that is only in a single paragraph in this report. And to me, that is why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you wish to come back? Yes?
Yeah, just on that, Leader, thank you, if I may. Thank you, Councillor Heath, for those kind words. The department has worked extremely hard in prevention rather than cure, and those figures are evident that it is working, because we've helped so many from being homeless, because there's nothing worse, and it could happen to anybody in this room, and there's nothing worse than being made homeless in your life. So, therefore, we have obviously helped, and we will continue to do so, but with the excellent staff that we've got, I'm glad that other people have noticed that we are making a difference. Thank you. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. I just think it's right just to share some of the onus with regards to the delivery of the high street works in both Housestead and Newland Street in Whitsun, as members will probably be fully aware that this has appeared for the fourth time in the performance report. I somewhat have some sympathy for my Cabinet colleague and Essex County Councillor, Cabinet Member for Highways, with having to deal with Essex County Highways and indeed Essex Legal Services when it comes to trying to get what we would perceive as some fairly minor projects over the line. It's nothing other than the fact that sheer dogged determination by some council officers here has tried to push this over the finishing line. It's really difficult at times, and we can only apologise. We have kept our district colleagues fully aware of the process that we are trying to take in delivering these works, and indeed we have met with both town councils on regular occasions as well, just to keep them updated. I don't want to give another false sunrise, but I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel, and we are looking at some really good progress, thanks to our help from Councillor Cunningham with his Essex Council remit hat on, and indeed with the help of officers here within Braintree District Council. So we are expecting some positive steps forward, certainly very early in the new year, in getting that project started and completed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Bless you. Councillor Mrs Beavis. Sorry, Councillor Ms Jeffries, Lynn Jeffries, and then Councillor Mrs Beavis, then
I don't
Councillor
mind which
Gabrielle
way
Spray.
round, particularly. I just wondered on the prevention of the homelessness, does it also mean that we've been able to have our expenditure on the use of bed and breakfast? And stretching a point, how are we doing with the empty homes and our empty homes officer getting empty homes back in use? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to come in on that now?
Thank you, Lady. Yes, it has reduced the expenditure of bed and breakfast for those people who would have been homeless if we hadn't have intervened. And your second point, sorry, what was it again?
Empty homes.
Oh, the empty homes. A report, Leader, is coming to members because we've got some excellent news on that. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. And again, I want to just thank the Council for their report to scrutiny last week on this. And again, it's impossible to pick up on everything at the meeting, but I just wanted to go back to, on my system, I think I'm looking at page 82 of 171, and it's to do with the days taken to process the housing benefit claim changes. And it's flagged up as red. And I I mean, obviously I've read the sort of the narrative within that report, but how worried should we be about this? And it also talks about our capacity to deal with claims and obviously the transition over to universal credit. But I just wonder, what are we doing to mitigate this? And are we going to see a reversal of the status from red? Because it's just a bit concerning to see that one sitting there. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Who's going to take that? Councillor Bowers?
Yes, no, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, no, I appreciate, and I think I did reference that in my speech earlier, and I know it's referenced in the report that is one of those metrics that is not where it needs to be. I can assure that work is ongoing on that, and the expectation is that that will improve as we move forward this year. I think it's helped with even like with the local council tax support scheme and all the work we are doing to help with that work. But my understanding is I'm comfortable with all the work we are doing towards that, and I'm confident that will be improving as we move through the year. Thank you, Councillor Beavis.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mrs Spray.
Thank you, Leader, and thanks to Councillor Bowers for presenting his report. I just wanted to draw attention under performance indicators and on page 79 to the planning applications. Major planning applications in the second quarter, 100% were decided on time. Minor applications, 89%, which is well above the 70% target. And other planning applications, 94% decided on time, again, well above the target. It's another consistently good performance from our planning team. you know, it's not unusual for them to make the targets, but applications keep on coming in. Not all of them are straightforward. Many of them are actually quite complicated, but they do and have again made or exceeded the targets this time. So my congratulations to them. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions at all? Councillor Bowers?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to sort of pick up a bit like the point that Councillor Heath made earlier about this report is 40 pages long or something like that, but some of the detail in it, just a few lines, sometimes doesn't do credit in regards to all the great work that we do as an authority, and you can only have a few lines in the report. I think it was commented on at the scrutiny committee out the new report or the layout in regards to a bit more detail has been welcomed, and I welcome Tom Williams and Tracy Headford for their work on the new layout. But yeah, I just wanted to make that point. You know, I mean, you can only put so much in a report, but there is so much work going on with all the officers across this organisation, and I feel sometimes we look at the challenging bits where we're off target and that kind of thing, but that there is so much good work that goes on in this authority that we should be proud of, and I'm sure the majority of our residents do appreciate that. The only other thing I was going to say, Chairman, is I actually forgot to move the recommendation, so before I get into trouble, I will move the recommendation as set out in section 2 on page 52 of tonight's report. Thank you.
Noted. Any other comments or questions at all? No. In that case, are you happy to accept the rather belated moving of the recommendation by Councillor Bowers that we note the outcome of the second quarter? Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That then takes us to item 9 on the agenda, the update on the cost of living fund, which I will introduce. I have to say I'm absolutely delighted and proud to produce this report. If we can just reflect on how we got here in the first place. We have always been an ambitious council in terms of trying to meet the housing deficit in our area and providing housing of all types and kind, and for which we have received New Homes Bonus. We took a decision as a council that we would not incorporate that into the general fund as so many councils did, but that we would put it aside for specific issues, initially for capital projects which would relate to services being provided as a result of the development of new homes. It became clear, however, a couple of years ago, with the increasing demands of cost of living and the hardship that was going through, that we would look slightly different at that, and we took a decision that we would set up a cost of living fund of £1 million with it over a 2-year period to tackle issues caused by the pressure of the cost of living on our vulnerable clients and our vulnerable constituents. And that would not have been possible without taking some quite unpopular decisions, planning decisions, if I might say, to Councillor Spray. That would not have been possible without taking those. And I do acknowledge that there were some members of this council that would rather that we had not have taken those decisions, and as a result we would not have received that money which we were able to use in terms of this cost of living. We focused initially on, over the 2-year period, our intention was to focus on 3 particular areas: food security, which I think was absolutely essential, making it easier for everyone to reach, including those living in our most rural areas, to help the most vulnerable by supporting community groups and organisations to do more, and thirdly, to enable physical and emotional health and well-being for everyone, but in particular young people. I think very, very laudable ambitions that we had. I have to say that we have worked in collaboration with our partners, and they are listed in 3.4. I won't read them out now, but my thanks go to those organisations who have worked so closely with us to be able to ensure that this wasn't a policy of just distributing funding willy-nilly, but was actually based on need and on well-researched need. We also, and this I'm particularly proud of, in 3.5, we produced a poverty report. And anyone who takes the time to look at that report will see just how challenging in what is predominantly what might be thought of as a fairly affluent district. Poverty is spread across the whole district. Whether you live in Bocking South or whether you live in Sybil Headingham, there are areas of poverty, but the poverty actually varies. In some areas it's food poverty, in some cases it's poverty affecting children, and particularly across the north of the county, it's fuel poverty, with very few of our properties actually connected to gas. And as a result, when oil prices were going up, real hardship to those constituents of ours who we might well have regarded as sort of asset rich, living from in the outside from well maintained and well looked after houses, but actually financially stricken. And I think it's important to recognise that this policy, that we set out, the £1 million, has actually been able to tackle all elements of poverty, wherever it is in our district and in whatever part of the community it exists. Now, we've set out in 3.6 what we have already spent on that and how we've spent it. And in 3.7, you will see the actual projects and the outcomes set out quite clearly. The Braintree Area Food Bank, which we readily acknowledge that having a supporting a food bank in the centre of Braintree was great if you live in Braintree, but very difficult if you live in some of the rural areas. And so working with the food bank, we were able to encourage them. Well, they didn't need much encouragement, to be quite honest. They've been extremely good in setting up other areas, other points of pick-up. And I think one of them, for example, I think is in Sybil Headingham, but also in terms of a mobile service as well, so that wherever you live in this district, you will get access to help if you need it. So that was some of the things that we've done there. The micro grant schemes, sometimes it's only needed just a small amount of money, which is either acted as a starting point for something or help some of our partners to take it forward. Our products for homeless applicants, following on what Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint was talking about, are also set out there. And also, last year we did the electric blankets, which were a huge success in helping people to be able to keep warm, and something which we will continue with. And in 3.8, just a few of the very positive feedback that we've had from the public who have used the services. So I am extremely proud that this council took the decision, first of all, to invest in the housing, which brought the new homes bonus, that with the way in which we have used the new homes bonus, which has also enabled us to support our community through very difficult times. And of course we know those difficult times have not yet come to an end. I don't want to be political, but the stopping of the winter fuel allowance, etc., will also give problems to some of our older residents this coming year. So the point of this paper is to update members on where we are, to show, and I think all members will find the report on the poverty report, I think, hopefully helpful in identifying areas of need, and also 2 examples of what we've produced for the public, the Ease the Squeeze booklet, and more recently the Winter Fuel Allowance Guidance, which has been made available as well. I think both of those documents, I'd like to congratulate our staff and our communications department on the production of those, which I think are really first class in terms of helping people find their way to where there is maybe help available for them. So we still have an additional 400,000 left from that year, because it takes a little while if you're going to do this sensibly and not just spray money. With due respect to Councillor Mrs. Spray, you're not going to spray money around to get it set up, so there is more available. We could, of course, take the easy way out and just put that back into our pot and say that's there, but I don't personally believe that that would be the best way. I would like to seek the support of Cabinet to extend the cost of living fund for an additional 12-month period to March 2026 to address the continuing challenges residents face due to the continuing increases in the cost of living. And I would hope that members would agree to that. I personally think this has been a huge success and has shown just how much local government generally, but this council in particular, when it thinks imaginatively, can make a significant difference, working with others and working with our partners to improving the lot of our constituents through what was, and to a certain extent still remains, a very difficult time. So with that, I commend the paper to you, and also the recommendation that we extend the cost of living fund for another year with the resources that we currently have allocated there, and I so move. I'm open now to comments and questions. Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint.
Thank you, Leader. I agree. I think we should be congratulating ourselves and giving ourselves a pat on the back for this, because it is quite a big thing of what this council has done. And when you see and speak to the people that have been affected by poverty, etc., and it means so much. And you highlighted, and it's a small spend in the grand scheme of things in this, the electric blankets cost us $18,445. But when you get comments back that say it changed my life, then that's when it really hits you of how much and how good that small project is. And we will continue to do this. The other thing that's also close to my heart is we mustn't get away from the fact that this district is the 5th highest in child poverty in the whole of Essex County. Now that they are the future of this district, they are the future generation, and it is awful to see that. And I think carrying on the good work that we do and continuing it can only be a good thing, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mary Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I just want to echo the points that you made, Chairman, and Councillor Bowers-Flint. I absolutely support extending the cost of living fund for another year. You just need to read the quotes, and that's just a few of them. I've had the privilege of attending a number of events over the last year, or 18 months actually, and heard a lot more of quotes like that, where little things, as Lynette said, it's not a huge amount of money, the electric blanket scheme, but what a difference that can make to so many people. And the dementia walks, the dementia teas, people who haven't been out for ages, actually getting out and about and really appreciating those little gestures that we've been able to put to them. And it's not just about providing physical support, as you said, Chairman. The innovative idea of producing this directory plus the booklets, and I don't think anybody realises how much work has gone into actually compiling those 3 documents, and the fact that we've been able to share them with partners, which has been a huge help. You know, it's actually putting information out there that
a lot of people, maybe elderly, wouldn't be able to get that information in one place normally. There's a lot of projects outlined that we've done. The future possible projects, I know the community supermarket, that's in the early stages of discussion, but that looks to be very, very promising and a huge step up from what we have been able to provide. Additional electric blankets for people who are particularly housebound and immobile, to actually be able to be warm when they're sitting without having to heat the whole house. The cost of that is a huge benefit. And the small grant scheme, that's helped a whole raft of smaller groups that perhaps would have folded up if they hadn't had that bit of extra help. And finally, the pet food bank, to hear people say that they've fed their pet rather than themselves, I think is a testament that's definitely something that we can help with and is needed. And the thing is, we're not asking for any extra money. It's money that has been put aside and that we know we will be spending very sensibly. So I just want to echo what Councillor Bowers has said and other members have said. I think our officer team and our partners have absolutely risen to the occasion here. I absolutely support the extending the fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mary Carringham. Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. And again, there's just so much good stuff to come out of the work that we have put in here. A couple of points that I was going to bring up have already been mentioned, but one that I think is worth also mentioning is when people find themselves in a situation like this, it can be overwhelming, it can be stressful, and the anxiety can be overbearing. So to have the information that not just signposts people, but shows them where to get that help from. Some people aren't all about handouts; they just want to know where to go to get the help. Some people are quite proud like that. So for us to be able to cater for the full suite of needs across this district is really, really key. I think one of the other points to pick up on is often when people find themselves in difficulties, one of the first things to go, especially if you've got children, is a leisure facility or sports or keeping fit, because it's a discretional spend. Yeah, we've even thought of that. So we've even through the likes of sports providers and our own fusion provider, we've made allowances for people to allow to continue to try and keep physically engaged and mentally active too, because that can impact someone's well-being as well as the poverty side of things. So we have thought of pretty much the full suite of works to try and help everyone who has found themselves in an hour of need or needed to know where to get some information from to help them in their hour of need. I will fully support the proposal to extend this by another year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions at all? Councillor Jeffries, then Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, and I fully support this, of course. It's an excellent use for that money, and it continues the work that I was involved with back in the late 1990s when the council actually had an anti-poverty group, and actually on each item going to any meeting we had a section where we referred to any poverty implications on those decisions. So it is good to see. Sad, however, that it's still so needed, of course. And just not wanting to be political, Chair, I'd just like to remind you that the government are not actually stopping the winter fuel allowance, merely means testing it. I say merely means testing it, but means testing it, but not getting rid of it for everybody.
I stand corrected. Councillor Mrs Beavis.
Thank you, Chairman, and I too support the extension of this fund for another year, and I think I'm about to congratulate the right Cabinet member, but if I'm not, then I apologise, because I appreciate it's a Cabinet approach to this, but I do speak to Councillor Lynette Bowers-Flint and email her on bits and pieces to do with Live Well, and I think really what sort of concerns me in all of this is once we finish the year, there are probably aspects of what we're doing, like, for example, electric blankets, where, say, parish councils or churches in particular, a lot of our churches, in fact, do so much good. But when it comes to the young people of our district, it's quite specific. And we've had a target, as far as I'm aware of, for some time now, around school readiness, and clearly now this, child poverty. And it really does concern me. It really does. And I just wondered, through you, Chair, what the mechanism might be to pick this up going forward. I know we had Live Well Child, but out of all the things we do, if something that could be sustainable for the future came out of this, perhaps around children, I'd be really quite keen to watch that. That's just an observation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Annette Barson, do you want to say anything on that at the moment? I'm sure you've heard the views.
Yes, Leader, thank you. Obviously, very close to my heart, with my county hat on, but we're looking at it at the moment from the county, because it is quite frightening, actually, to be honest with you, Leader, the school readiness and the age of the children and the condition that they come to start school in. So it's a joint thing with education being done at county, but we will report back to this council at some stage of how perhaps as a district council we may be able to help in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Garrett, and then Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, I chaired the first cost of living scrutiny review that we did, and it kick-started a great deal of this. And I think what I can see is that it's gained so much momentum over this period of time and excluded or got rid of the embarrassment, I think, which first started with people when they were coming out of the pandemic. And it's so good to see now that that momentum has encouraged so many partners and so much charity work and volunteering that has gone forward. And it's just so good to see that this continues, because it's brought out so many people from their homes who were suffering into regular events and things in the community groups that are occurring throughout the villages. So I'm really pleased to see that this is going forward, because I think it's still going to be a tough winter. And I think the problem with the winter fuel allowance is that so many people are not claiming in order to go forward with that. And as Martin Lewis pointed out, a lot of these people have dementia and Alzheimer's, and they don't know how to claim. And that's a really important point, I think, that this council should pick up with their communications, is to encourage people to actually make those applications. But yes, very pleased to see that this is proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mrs Powell.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Regarding child poverty, for most parents, this is becoming a very difficult time of year for them. And last year, we know the Salvation Army, working with the police, collected toys to distribute, and I believe we used this as a collecting point. I'm just wondering if we could do more to maybe do that again, or get a message out to our members to let them know that they are collecting toys for those children who are vulnerable. Because, I mean, that will help some of those parents who are really in distress.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Powell. Yes?
Thank you, Leader. We will become a distribution centre if we are asked to do so.
A collection centre or collection centre? Yeah. Okay. Councillor Jeffries.
Just on that, I understand that Marks Farm Tesco's have got a collection point if anybody wants to drop anything off there for the Salvation Army.
Maybe we can get our comms people to assist the Salvation Army in terms of making this well known. I think it shows the joint working and to be able to use some of our publicity and comms to help the Salvation Army I'd be very happy, I'm sure members would, that we did that. Okay. Any other comments or questions at all? If not, the recommendation I have put before you is to note the achievements which have taken place since 2003 when we launched the Cost of Living Fund, and to extend the project by a further 12 months until the 31st of March 2026. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. That concludes the items that we have in the public sector. Now, in the public section, it now falls to me to ask us to move into private session in order to discuss agenda item 11, the management of discretion. Involves the